Corsa Ferrari is running in the 4th place in the class, and they're only about 30 seconds behind Marco Seefried. That's the Ferrari. So 2 Ferraris in the top 4. Aston Martin leads, a Porsche in 3rd place, and Jerome Blekemolen in the number 53 Viper running in 5th place at the moment, a couple of laps off the ultimate pace.
Are we seeing many teams take advantage of these slow zones as a sort of a part? Under a safety car, you get sort of effectively a free pit stop, don't you? Because you can make your pit whilst the pack's going slow.
No, not really. You don't want to make a pit stop on the yellow, because when you do, you automatically slip back to the next safety car, because even if you
pegged back even further,
you lose a lot more ground. So you try not to make a pit stop during the safety car periods. Strategies here really different to certainly where I come from in the United States, and you've really got to keep your wits about you.
In that case, just as we see a replay here of that change for the lead in the GTE Pro class, that was Reese's Aston Martin going too deep on the brakes into the first chicane on the Mulsanne straight, locking up, skating wide, using all of the tarmac on the inside of the apex curb, just about missing the gravel bed, and good reactions from Ollie Gavin in the Corvette behind to get by without clattering the recovering Reese.
And they did change tyres there, didn't they, on the Corvette? I think they also changed them on the last stint, so that's interesting. They've opted to change again. They had been double stinting the tyres, or even triple stinting them actually. But that was the driver change there, so Oliver Gavin hands over to Tommy Milner, and a 1 minute 29 seconds for that pit stop.
So how long was Gavin at the wheel for? How long did they make his
3 hours
tyres go? Right.
Almost certainly 3. No, but I'm pretty sure he changed also on the last stint though.
All right.
So they're now electing to give Tommy Milner a fresh set for when he rejoins the race.
So do you think that could be because perhaps he was struggling with a flat spot or a possible puncture or slow puncture or something? Because it doesn't make sense, does it?
Not really.
Otherwise?
Well, I mean, they hadn't been triple stinting their tyres up until Jordan Taylor did it before Oliver Gavin got in the car, and Ollie must have radioed in and said no, he'd like take it easy. He's got a lot of experience in these races, knows how to win them, does Oliver Gavin. He wants to get another win right now. The team's been here 16 times. They've got 7 wins. They've got a sort of a 50% strike rate, and they want to keep that 50% strike rate. So even though 4 class wins for Oliver Gavin, 7 times on the podium here in his 14 previous starts, he knows exactly what he needed to do. If there's any doubt, he'll come in and take that 20 seconds at this stage to put on a fresh set of tyres. But certainly when you're changing drivers, it certainly makes sense to send out your new driver on a fresh set of tyres, particularly of course in the World Endurance Championship. You're allowed to, unlike in North America, you're allowed to tyre warmers, so the tyres are fully up to temperature as they go onto the car.
Yeah, and actually somebody has asked on Twitter, you know, what's the logic behind not allowing tyre changes to happen simultaneously with refueling? Well, that's just on safety grounds. Refueling is obviously the most dangerous aspect of the pit stop full service process. And so they want to get it done with as fewer people around the car as possible. They don't want mechanics running around with tyre guns, tripping over refueling hoses and so on. So that's the reason behind it. But interestingly, if your tyres can go those extra stints, but you do need to make, or you want to make, a driver change, it is possible to change drivers in a shorter space of time than it takes to refuel, and you are allowed to do those 2 things at the same time. So there is some situations where they might elect to do a driver change, but unusually not actually take tyres at the same time. Perhaps they're reaching the limit of the driver's maximum time at the wheel, or perhaps the driver's got cramp, which is quite often the case. Sometimes you just really need the loo, you know, and that can be seriously, that can be painful. Tommy Milner earlier in this race said it was quite an interesting admission. He said he had to go to the bathroom quite early in his stint.
Well, that's unfortunate, isn't it, for whoever gets hopped in the car next. Yeah. We just saw we didn't see actually, did we, a pit stop for our race leader Nick Tandy, who again stays at the wheel of the car number 19, so remains in the lead of this race. And He took over the lead on lap 161. We're now on lap 184. I think this might well be the longest stint of anybody in the lead, or it matches at the beginning of the race. We saw Timo Bernhardt lead for the first 23 laps. I think this is since then the longest period of time that one car has been in the lead of this race.
We've got Andre Lotterer doing what Andre Lotterer does so well, and just scything into the lead.
No, Tandy's just made a pit stop.
Yeah, that's. I was just looking at that. He's just made his stop, hasn't he? That's what's made the difference.
That's why he's so close now.
Yeah.
But certainly Nick Tandy has extended his lead over both of the Audis during the time he's been at the wheel. And Nick Tandy took over the wheel of that car at 12:13, so just after midnight. So 2 hours and almost 15 minutes ago. And it really has been, I think, a magnificent effort by Nick Tandy. He's got relatively little experience hardly any experience in the prototype cars. Did do the opening round of the World Endurance Championship in a P2 car. Did he win the class actually? And then drove this car, didn't he, at Spa? Is that right? Yeah, drove the Porsche at Spa to get some experience in the Porsche prior to Le Mans, but it's been an absolutely superb performance.
It was an outstanding performance, that is, on so far of the race to me, because he had a lot less experience than everybody else. And let's face it, this is not a circuit to behave like a mug on, because you really dare not do it. There's so much traffic about, there are so many mistakes you can make, and it is quite narrow in places. It always surprises me. When you look at it, you think, well, heck, there isn't that much room. If you do lose it, you're going to hit something.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the middle of the night, the kind of the rookie on the team, he and Nico Hulkenberg, rookies on this team. Nick Tandy at least has raced at Le Mans before. He's had a couple of starts here in the past. His teammates, Nico Hulkenberg and Earl Bamber,
what we've got
this
here,
is their first time
we've got something here that I don't like the look of very much. Whoever it is,
stage
LMP2 car,
no lights of any sort again.
Driver is out of the car, leaning back into
Pegasus car.
Turn it off. The Morgan Evo Sard with Pierre Rags at the wheel.
That had been in trouble before, hasn't it, this car?
Oh, really?
Lying 9th in the LMP2 class.
They were running 4th or 5th, top 6 certainly for quite a long time. Number 43 car shared by Pierre Rag, Oliver Webb, of course, from the UK, and Zoll Lamberg from Switzerland, a youngster there who's been racing in GP3, Formula Renault 3.5, and even GP2 the last few years. And Oliver Webb, a similar background as well. Also some races in the Indy Lights Championship in North America.
Yeah, well, they've got a double yellow there, and it is that car which has stopped. And so that's going to put a little bit of a damper on the charge for a bit till they've all sorted that one out.
Nick Manassian flying in the SMP, Nissan in the LMP2 category. They've had a troubled race, so lying quite far down the order in that class, but he's just put the car's fastest lap of the race in on a 3:44.1. Not that quick compared to the front runners actually, but Nick setting some personal best sector times, so obviously feeling reasonably happy with the balance of the car as the temperature drops.
Yeah, sharing that car with Maurizio Mediani and David Markazov, who doesn't have a lot of experience. Mediani has a lot of experience in all sorts of different cars, but Markazov certainly a relative newcomer. He came up through Formula Russia, did some Formula 3 in Russia as well, and then last year won the GTC Championship in the European Le Mans Series. But this is his first season in the prototypes.
Yeah, Manassian actually had quite a successful single-seater career, and I thought that's the way he would go. But instead of that, he's turned his attention towards sports cars and has made a very good sports car driver.
Yeah, very fast driver and all-round lovely bloke, former teammate of mine, and you just couldn't find anyone with less of an ego given the CV that they've got. Just fantastic.
Yeah, and a really good guy for this sort of team. The Russian team, they're really taking him under their wing. They're giving him an opportunity to become, returned to being a professional again, spent many years with Peugeot amongst many other teams, Quick Nick, and yeah, a really good guy to have on your team. He's a great driver coach as well.
He has self-confidence.
He does, but he doesn't flaunt it.
He doesn't appear that he has until you actually get to talk to him, and you realise that, yes, I think he's weighed all this up very well, and he's continued to do that wherever he's gone.
Jeremy, a question that comes in quite regularly. Why don't GT3 cars race at Le Mans? What is the difference between GT3 and GTE? You might be the best man to give a technical answer to that question.
Not really. They're just sort of, they're relatively close in specifications. The GTE cars are a bit more away from the street car versions. The GT3 cars are more closely based on road-going cars and have to be homologated with the FIA, as do the GTE cars. But the GT3 cars have got to be produced in a larger number, and they are specially homologated. You're not allowed to change the specifications from there. It's confusingly close. Let's just leave it at that.
I think it's also down just to different organising bodies creating and running their own series and creating their own rules.
Yeah, it is.
The ACO want their class, was certainly intended to be the fastest GT category, and GT3 was supposed to be lower than what used to be called GT2. But over the years, the cars get developed, and there's a lot of driver aids allowed in GT3, such as traction control, ABS, yaw control, etc., that do actually help the lap times, and have brought it up a little bit too close, I think, to GTE, which is the ACO's Le Mans version.
A very concise,
very sophisticated race cars, no question about that. Here is a pit stop for, this would be, I would imagine, kind of a 7.
Yeah, as I said, he was very concise about getting away from the traffic there, but he is actually coming in, I think, this lap because all ready and waiting to go.
And good news for Nissan fans is that Jan Mardenborough is getting suited up, and they're expecting to have him back out on track at some point soon, which is pretty unexpected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, pit stop for number 7 Lotterer in the second-placed Audi. He's staying in the car. The drinks bottle gets replenished. That's the red canister. You see the mechanic just slipping in beside his head. That's the one that we were talking earlier on about, over a long stint in the daytime, ends up boiling like a kettle, but the drivers have to drink it, because if they don't, they risk being underweight when they get out the car.
Yeah.
Not a pleasant experience. Right, he's back underway.
So that's 15 stops for him, and therefore everybody else in the little group is going to be following scenes very shortly.
We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Welcome back. Jeremy Shaw and Sam Hancock at the moment. Neville Hay is loitering as well, and we've got a pit stop here for the LMP2 leader, Nicolas Lapierre. Another brilliant stint by the Frenchman, and he brings that car onto pit lane. Looks like routine service going on there.
Yeah, just above Nicolas Lapierre in the timesheets, Daniel Abt, who is doing a very good job in the Rebellion. He's in his first ever WEC level race, running P9. nice and consistently holding fort there at the tail end of the LMP1 field.
Yeah, it's been a good performance, hasn't it? Stefan Sarthe making a pit stop as well in the 7th place car. That's the best place of the Toyotas. And within a lap or so of Mark Lieb in the delayed number 18 Porsche. Twice that car's been off the road. First of all with Romain Dumas at the wheel. Secondly, about, I don't know, an hour or so ago with, well, probably more than that now, a couple of hours perhaps, with Neil Jarni, which was at 1:22. What time is it now? 2:45. So an hour and 20 minutes or so ago. Both Jarni and Romain Dumas had some problems. Both at Mulsanne corner. They just couldn't get the car woed down there and ran over various exit curbs and whatever down at Mulsanne corner. Both actually nosed into the tyre walls. They had to change the nose on that car twice, but still going along.
We've got a problem here. Leading car of the LMP2 category looked like it was just coming in for a normal full-service pit stop, but the mechanics are taking extra good look at the front right-hand corner. It looked to me like they were looking just at the back of the wheel arch, and I thought I saw a lot of blue tape being applied. I don't know if you guys had a better view than me. We've got Chris Parsons joining us in the booth. Chris, you managed to spot anything there?
No, it's well, it's so dark around there, and they're, as you say, they're delving into the wheel arch.
Here we go. Right, now this could be something to do with the light panel. I don't know. Yeah. You can probably notice that both the number panels and the positioning lights, the 3 coloured lights that give an indicator to us and to the fans at trackside of who is in the top 3 and what class they're in. They're underway again. Basically, if those lights don't work, you have to pit and fix them. That's the rule.
If you don't, they pull you in to do it.
That's correct. So there's position indicator lights. There's 3 little lights there alongside the number. And if one light is shining, that means it's the class leader. If 2 lights are shining, means it's 2nd place in the class. 3 lights means it's 3rd place in the class. That system developed in the American Le Mans series a few years ago. It's a really, really good tool, and particularly useful at night because it's also very visible during the daytime as well. Expected pit stop now for car number 17. This is the 4th place car. There he is.
Timo Bernard at the wheel. He's getting out to make way for, is that Brendan? I think that
yes.
Gets a pat on the bum from his teammate. Encouraging.
Now that was a good example of the left-hand drive, and it's something that we've been talking about all week. This left-hand drive, right-hand drive, and they were able to do a driver change while the refueling was still going on.
Well, I've had a few different answers to the question of why is the Porsche left-hand drive and most of the others a right-hand drive. You would think that it makes sense for a fast driver change to have the drive side on the one that's closest to the pit garage when the car comes into the pits, because then the driver's got less distance to run around and so on. But actually, they wanted to create the safest scenario, the one that encounters the least risk. If you've got a lot going on around the refuelers when they're carrying that huge heavy fueling hose, trying to locate it accurately on the coupling on the car, and you've got drivers' doors opening, mechanics coming in to deal with belts, seat inserts being ripped out, new ones being thrown in, just generally quite a lot of panic. You don't have that space to be safe. And actually, now that I see it in action, I start to understand why left-hand drive could work. However, that was only one of the rationale that I got, and the other was to do with positioning of the hybrid systems, part of which sits alongside the drivers in what would be the passenger seat area. I'd have thought you could just design it and fit it to be either side, but actually what you're looking for is weight distribution on circuits that, actually, again, that doesn't necessarily make sense. We're going to circuits that are predominantly right-handed, so I don't know.
Most circuits are right-handed, but then you go and ask Audi the same question, and they say they have the drivers on the right of the car because that way the driver's leg is straighter when he's braking. And it gives it, I spoke to Chris Ranker, who is the head of the LMP1 project, and that was his argument. It's all about the driver ergonomics. And it also means that the footrest, the foot box takes up less space, because the footrest can be right in the middle of the car, and if it's left-hand drive, it pushes the car out. The car has to be wider, and therefore the tub of the Audi can be slightly smaller, and it's all down to aerodynamics.
Okay, I've got one more possibility for you. Fourth and final reason is the simplest one, I think, and the one that makes the most sense. Vision. You imagine sitting as far back as these drivers do in a closed roof prototype. You've got the A pillar of the car, of that roof, right in your field of vision. If most of the corners, as we're saying, are right-handers, if you're in the right-hand seat and you're looking to pick out your apex of an upcoming right-hand corner, you're looking through the A pillar and you're closer to the wheel arch, which sits very high in your eye line. If you're over on the left, you have a clearer line of sight.
Yes.
The right-hand corner. That, to me, was, I had a chat with Brendan Hartley about it, and that made pretty good sense.
Yep. And Toyota wouldn't answer the question. So we got answers out of Audi and Porsche, but not out of Toyota.
Well, I think we've covered all of our bases there, so you can pretty much take your pick.
And going back to the GT question that you were talking about earlier, Jeremy, there have been quite a few efforts at bringing the two types of GT into line, and it would obviously make things a lot simpler if GT Am and GT3 were the same, but every time they seem to fail.
Yeah, like I say, there's all sorts of reasons for that. Who has the rights to this and who wants to do that, and it's working right now. There's no real conflict between them. Different series run different specifications. Everything's working just fine. I mean, golly, I don't want to see the end of GTE, I can tell you that, because look at these cars. We've got 4 different cars in the top 4 here. It's the same, they run the same specification of cars in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship in North America, which is where I'm based these days. The racing at every single race is absolutely fantastic, as it is in GT3 as well. Absolutely fine. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it again. So, and it certainly isn't broken here. It's brilliant. We've got 4 different cars here. We've got the Aston leading, Chevy in second place, Ferrari third now, ahead of the Porsche, incidentally. And that's because I think, Jörg Bergmeister pitted a little while ago, actually last lap around, slightly longer stop too. 4-minute stop there for Jörg Bergmeister. Maybe they changed the brakes or something on that car. Just about halfway through this race. And the number 91 car is now back into the 4th place. So it's Aston Martin, Chevrolet, Ferrari and Porsche, the top 4 cars in GTE Pro.
And of course next year we'll have Ford as well.
Yes. Yeah, what big news that was announced yesterday. Yeah.
Terrific.
Very good news.
Yeah.
Ford coming in with a new version of the GT40. Chip Ganassi Racing involved, Multimatic, based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Also developing that car. That's a very, very exciting project. And tell you what, there's going to be a lot of drivers knocking on various doors at Ford over the next few weeks.
Right.
Scott Pruitt was here. I wasn't unfortunately able to make the announcement, but Scott Pruitt, I know, was over here for it. He drives regularly for Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabatis in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship, along with Joey Hand, former factory BMW driver, and they both drive the Ford EcoBoost-powered Rileys in the prototype class of the Tudor Series.
Watch out for Motorsport, guys. They are creeping back up the order in a way that they do so well, a little under the radar, but ever so consistently. Mitch Evans at the wheel now, just to the fastest sector 1 for that car. He's consistently lapping at about 3 minutes 40, and he's still a lap down on the 4th place car, Karen Chanduk, in the Murphy prototypes effort, but they're on a mission. They keep, every time I look back at the timing screens, they've climbed just a little higher. Be interesting to see how much they can claw back from their earlier problem with gearbox electronics that necessitated an unscheduled pit stop for a few minutes.
Yeah, well, a couple of laps down, aren't they, to the overall leader in that class, Nick Lapierre. Nick Lapierre in the KCMG cars lost a little bit of ground with that slightly longer pit stop, actually 3 minutes 23 pit stop, so it cost him a couple of minutes, but still lead in P2 over Pierre Thierry, who has taken the wheel of the Thierry by TDS. Oreca Nissan in second place, car number 46. Sam Bird for G-Drive Racing in third place in that car number 26. That's the Nissan-powered Ligier. And in fourth place, Karen Chandhok is currently the wheel of Greg Murphy. It's Murphy Prototypes, Oreca Nissan.
It's excellent to see that. If you remember during qualifying, the crash they had, and it's excellent to see them back in here after all the work they had to do to put it all back together again.
Just got a nice onboard shot here from the number 7 Audi of Andre Lotterer. He's typically, as soon as I start talking about it, the director cuts away. I was just going to say he was coming through Indianapolis and into Arnage. Here we go, back on board, heading towards the Porsche curves now. This is at about 345 kilometers per hour before hitting the brakes, down just one gear, and then this is flat in fifth through that left king, flat through this second left king, and then lifting as you turn hard right, relying totally on the aerodynamics to glue you to the inside of that right-hander before flicking the car with nothing but a little lift into the off-camber left that exits the Porsche curves, and it's that off-camber that makes the front just wash out. You can see here Andre attacking the curbs. Long gone are the days where you had to stay off the curbs in order to preserve the car. These days, they're trying to build the cars to be tough enough to withstand that kind of curb abuse, because within it lies so much lap time.
But during testing, Toyota had twice damaged tubs by hitting the curbs too hard, didn't they?
That's different. What we're seeing here from these onboard shots is Andre riding the tyre over the lower section of the curbs. If you try to eat too much of it and you belly out over what we call the French baguettes, on the inside of the apex rumble strip are these red or yellow baguette-shaped, rock-hard plastic curbs that are actually bolted, nut and bolted into the ground. If you put a prototype over one of those, you're going to belly out. You'll feel the shock of the impact ricochet right down your spine, and the car will definitely take off quite high, actually.
Yeah, Toyota had to abort one of their tests because of that, and they did actually damage the tub.
Yeah, which begs the question, you know, I'm sure there's viewers thinking, well, if that's the case, you know, why would you take so much curb? It's not that you choose to put the car that far over the curb. It's just that sometimes you get the entry wrong as you try to brake later and later. Perhaps you have a little lockup. Perhaps you lose the reel. You just get something a little wrong, and you end up taking more than you anticipated.
Yeah. And tiredness at this time of the race.
Yeah,
which is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it really is. The other area that can be really hard on cars is on the exit of corners like Tetra Rouge, on the exit of that final off-camber left at the Porsche curve. Beyond the white line, beyond the rumble strip on the exit, lies runoff tarmac that has huge grooves cut into it laterally. So as you ride over it, the whole car just chatters. And I tell you, if you go out there and you walk it, you can't believe the size of these grooves. We think that the car just sort of rumbles over them, no harm done. But they are huge. And the wider you go, the deeper they get. Yeah. That's your disincentive. So sometimes we see, especially the prototypes coming out of the Porsche curves, being balked by a slower GT car on the line, and they choose in a heartbeat to go left or right. It's actually quite difficult to go left. That's a tighter line, and if you're already on the limit, you don't have that luxury. So their option, the last remaining option, is to open up the steering wheel a bit, commit to the outside line around the GT car in front, which means taking to the very wide part of the runoff that I'm talking about and really just clattering over the deepest section of these grooves that are just cut into the tarmac.
Very uncomfortable indeed.
It's the worst.
You described that well.
The pit stop here for our class leader in GTE Pro, Fernando Reis, makes a pit stop. He's been at the wheel of this car for quite some time, actually. Took over, done at least a couple of hours at the wheel. I didn't see whether there's a driver change or not, but they are changing tyres on that number 99 Aston Martin.
Yeah, somebody pointed out something that was only just recently pointed out to me, actually, that the Ferris wheel has moved location. Has anyone else noticed that? To make way for the massive and very shiny, very impressive Porsche Le Mans Experience Centre. But there was obviously a deal done there in the background to relocate the Ferris wheel. And actually, I quite like its new location, because as we look back up the circuit from the Ford chicanes back towards the Porsche curves, we get the Ferris wheel as the backdrop now, and I think it makes for a lovely shot.
Yeah,
it is cool.
While you were talking there, Sam, we have just gone into the second half of the race. There are now 11 hours, 59 minutes and 22 seconds to go.
Right.
Past the halfway.
Almost there, huh?
Yeah.
So, in the same breath, how do we feel about the fact that the second place GTE Pro car is just 0.3 of a second behind the leader?
Yeah, the reason for that actually is Richie Stanaway has taken over the number 99 car. That's just happened to be the gap as he's in the pit lane, and Tommy Milner went past to retake the lead in GTE Pro out on the racetrack. So yeah, but it is a great battle going on between those two.
Even the fact that they're on the same lap, well, after 12 hours of racing, and the fact that we've still got a fight on our hands for the class leads, superb. Yeah, can't believe it.
Yeah, we'll have a stop coming up fairly shortly for Tommy Milner. Actually might have rejoined.
Understandably, in the middle of the night, quite a few light-related questions coming in on Twitter. Thanks for these, guys. Please feel free to keep sending in any questions that you have. Hancock_Sam and Jeremy Shaw Racer. Why do we see some cars flashing their headlights? That's more often than not the prototype cars warning the slower category cars. So it tends to be LMP1 flashing LMP2 and both of the GT class cars that they're coming by. The more notice you can give, then the more likelihood is you're just going to be able to get by unscathed. Now, we just got a good shot there of the fact that some cars are running yellow headlights and others are white. That's to determine which class of car it is that you're looking at. Not the subclasses. Basically, all the GT cars are running yellow headlights, and all of the prototype cars, both LMP1 and LMP2, are running white headlights.
Indeed, and that's primarily, well, that was close. Primarily for the benefit of that Tommy Milner coming onto pit lane. I'm not sure. Certainly, and it's certainly the third place car in P2. That's Sam Bird, who'd been tracking down Pierre Thirier there. That was a battle developing for second and third place in P2, but Sam Bird has to peel off in that car number 26 to bring it onto pit lane. But yeah, the yellow headlights primarily for the benefit of the GT drivers. So when they're looking in the mirrors, they can see when if it's a white car, they know it's going to be coming a lot faster. If it's yellow headlights, they know it's a car in the same performance envelope, if you like.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jeremy, actually, and you know, that is useful. I've been in the position of being both a prototype and a GT driver, and when you're in the prototypes, it's great to look in your mirror and and a huge fire in the pits for the Ferrari. The extinguishers are on that astonishingly quickly. That was brilliant pit crew work, especially so late at night when we've got used to looking at so many pit stops. To stay that alert is fantastic.
And of course, it's a regulation that there has to be a fire bottle in attendance at every pit stop, at least one.
This is bad news for the JMW team. This is the 66 car, which I don't know. Did you see which driver was just getting into it? He's had to get out now. Did you see who was getting in?
I didn't know, but I think it was. Our scoring shows that it was Abdulaziz Al Faisal who was getting out of the car. We don't know who was getting. He's sharing the car, of course, with Kuba Girmajiak and Michael Avenatti. It is a Pro-Am car running 6th in the class.
Yeah, look at all that extinguisher.
The problem with extinguisher is that it just gets everywhere. Absolutely. Yeah, I think.
Good news and bad news, huh?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the chances of being able to send the car back out again, even if they've managed to stop the spread of the fire damaging too much, just, I hate to say it, but I'm not sure that's even a possibility.
No, you're right.
Well, it certainly didn't. It was only a flash fire. It didn't go on for long.
But it was big, though, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And it was quite scary. I saw that light up. We've had quite a few fires this year.
Yeah, well, mainly on cars sort of self-igniting out on the racetrack, aren't they, with mechanical problems. It's 193 laps completed by our race leader Nick Tandy. Thankfully that fire has been extinguished, and we'll be away for just a few moments on Eurosport. Welcome back. Looking through the race standings as they are at the moment, or at least the ladder stages of it. In the overall race lead, it's still Nick Tandy in car number 19 for Porsche, and he's at lead over the second place car, which is Andre Lotterer, now at the wheel of car number 7 as Marco Bononomi comes onto pit lane. This is on lap 194. And the gap from first to second before Bononomi brought that car onto pit lane was just over a minute, 61.5 seconds. And that gap has been pretty much constant for the last 20-odd laps or so. But before that, Nick Tandy had been able to extend the lead from about 40 seconds up to about 60. And it's, as I say, just over 60 at this stage of the game. In third place now, moving up to second, is Andre Lotterer, who has been running the same sort of pace as Marco Bononomi, reducing the gap just a little bit. There's only 2 or 3 seconds between those two cars before the number 9 car came onto pit lane. But the number 7 machine, that's got about another half a dozen laps before it is due a pit stop. And our race leader will be in, I would suggest, in about 3 laps. So that is the situation at the front. Number 19 Porsche, followed by number 7 and number 9 Audis. And then the second of the Porsches, car number 17, Brendan Hartley at the wheel of that car, also on the lead lap in 4th place.
Yeah, just thinking back to that fire we saw before we went to commercial break, and one thing that worried me was that the flames licked up underneath the car and around the feet of the mechanic that was helping the new driver get strapped in, and I think we saw both him and one of the others rush to the back of the garage. I really hope that all the JMW crew are okay. JMW being the tyre development team, by the way, in the GT Class 4 Dunlop. And Dunlop actually is a subject of a question that's come in on Twitter, which is why are they the superior tyre in LMP2, but Michelin tyres seem to be the superior tyre in LMP1. I don't know if it's about superiority, it's just that in LMP1, traditionally the factory teams have had relationships and deals with Michelin where they get, even though they're all on the same brand of tyres, they each have their own development of Michelin tyre to particularly suit their car. In LMP2, Dunlop have done an amazing job, even though it is an open tyre category, they've done an amazing job with the range of tyres that they offer to the teams. And basically what's happened this year is the softest tyre is the one that they have a soft, they have a medium and a medium plus, as opposed to a sort of a softer medium and a hard. And it just gives the teams a bit more variety, a bit more strategic option according to the temperatures at different times in the race. Now, obviously, late at night, it's cooler. That means they can run a softer tyre, get more grip from it. They're experiencing less rapid tyre wear, so the tyre can do more stints. Earlier on in the race, we've got some information here that says that the soft has already been double stinted, but the medium was triple stinted, and the slightly harder medium plus was even used by 2 of the teams at the start of the race when the track was at its very hottest. So if you're a privateer team that doesn't have the ability to do day after day after day of testing, where you get the chance to develop tyres with your tyre supplier, then having such a versatile selection of compounds to choose from an off-the-shelf supplier in the way that Dunlop's been able to provide to the LMP2 teams is a really valuable thing. Does that clear that one up?
I think so, yes. Well done, Sam. And we can see that at the top of the table, the gap is remaining around the just over 1 minute mark, and seesawing backwards and forwards a bit with pit stops. And Bonami in number 9 has now dropped back to almost 2 minutes, but then he's just stopped, and things seesaw backwards and forwards. But Nick Tandy is still lapping at 3:23 with Andre Lotterer 3:24. So Tandy is pulling out very slightly. This has been a terrific stint from Tandy, hasn't it?
It has. It has. You know, I don't want to risk putting a commentator's curse on him. I just want to take my hat off to him, and actually a lot of the leading LMP1 guys that we've seen throughout the race so far. They seem to be driving with immense amounts of maturity, despite the fact that we're in arguably the closest for LMP1 battle for years, with so many cars matching one another for pace. And Henri Pescarolo is quite famous for saying that there is no excuse for making contact with a car that you're lapping, because if you're in the faster category, you just wait 1 or 2 or 3 seconds until you pop out whatever corner it is that you're thinking of making a lunge up the inside into. Just wait a couple of seconds till you come out the other side, use your power advantage to scythe on by.
Yeah, because the last thing you can afford is touch or an accident, which either takes you out or loses you time.
Absolutely. Now, we've seen definitely early in the race there were 1 or 2 close calls, without a shadow of a doubt, some quite aggressive driving going, but I don't think it's any accident that we're seeing guys like Nick Tandy consolidate a lead now, driving so consistently. When you can see, we just had a lovely onboard shot of him following the Aston through the 4 chicanes, 2 chicanes, just being patient, just waiting.
But of course he's come out of GT racing, so he's well aware of it.
Right, well, you make a brilliant point, and I can tell you, as someone that has raced both GT and LMP cars, even here I've experienced both, what a difference it makes. My first years of sports car racing were exclusively in prototypes, and I only had that perspective of a prototype driver getting frustrated by these the limit GT cars that are slow and holding you up and blah, blah, blah. Then I was in GT for a while, and I realized that actually when you're flat out, especially if you're racing another car, but regardless, when you're flat out in a GT car on the limit, your ability to be cognizant of faster cars desperate to get by you from the prototype classes, you can't really do so much about it. You cannot adjust your line in a GT car anywhere near as easily as you can in a prototype. Secondly, you're sitting that little bit higher up in a bigger, bulkier car. It's much harder to see the low-slung prototypes, and they approach so fast sometimes, and you're busy. You might be in a tooth and nail battle for the lead of your class. You don't always see them.
Yeah, no, it's Jeremy, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, no, I was absolutely agreeing with you there, and Sam, I think it's a very good analysis. And you know, the fact that you've got downforce on the car, the GT cars don't have any ground effect. So when you're on the limit in both cars, but certainly with the downforce car, it just gives you a few more options, doesn't it, as a driver to adjust your line. A couple of tweets here. Jason Cole asked, how do teams gain entry into Le Mans? Basically, you apply to the FIA, and there's all sorts of criteria that they have. There's various automatic bids if you win categories in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. That will gain you an entry. If you win classes in the WEC, that'll gain you an entry. Manufacturers generally will get an entry in it as well. As we see our race leader Nick Tandy onto pit lane one more time and handing over that car now, after an absolutely magnificent stint at the wheel of car number 19. Nick Tandy took the wheel at about 12:15. It's now 3:16. So that was a marathon stint there from Nick Tandy. It's 4 full fuel loads on that car, and he's extended his lead over the pursuing Audis during that period. So a really, really fine effort there. Yeah. Hand over the car to Earl Bamber.
3 hours at these speeds is quite incredible, isn't it?
It is, but do you know what? It has such a positive effect on the whole strategy, because not only does it fundamentally allow you to, you save raw seconds. You can make, if you can make your tires last longer, you don't have to do the driver change, you lose less time in the pit stop. But at the same time, off track, it gives the other two a chance to go and have some proper rest. If you've got your two teammates on track for 3 hours each, you've got a 6-hour window in which to get out the car, have a debrief, have something to eat, have a shower, and probably go and sleep for 4 hours before you actually have to be back in the box, kitted up, ready to go in case of... Because, by the way, although all these things are scheduled and when you're supposed to be getting in the car, you have to, if you're the next driver in the sequence, you have to be in the box with your gear on, ready to go, just in case there's something unexpected happens and they pit the car early at the very last minute, which is kind of frustrating. As the race goes on, you get quite tired, and you could really, frankly, do with that extra half an hour of sleep. And also, it's just quite uncomfortable to sit with all your helmet on and everything like that in the middle of the pit lane. You don't mind so much at night because it's cold, it keeps you warm, but in the middle of a hot day, when you've got 3 hours coming up at the wheel, the last thing you want is tack another hour of wearing all your gear onto the start of that.
It just gives it's an organised program.
I love this onboard shot. Right, we're back here with the lead car, Andre Lotterer, in his Audi as he's coming down the Mulsanne straight. Hopefully we'll cut back to that onboard. We're just not going to now that I'm attempting to actually talk about it. It's just not going to happen. Here we go. So, where are we on the circuit? Right, coming up to Mulsanne corner. Now, I want to talk about this because imagine doing sort of 210, 215 miles an hour down a 3-lane motorway. That's what it's like going down the Mulsanne straight. When you come into the actual braking zone from Mulsanne corner, it's like peeling off the motorway, still flat out, no lifting, no indicating, still foot to the floor at 210 miles an hour, peeling off the motorway suddenly, and it funnels down to just a single lane width. At the same time, it's getting pretty bumpy. So imagine hurtling down the motorway, you see the exit up ahead, you peel off, you keep it absolutely lit as you go up the slip road, and then you've got to hit the brakes hard for a corner that in this case with the Mulsanne, feels as slow as stopping at a T-junction. It is literally like, you have to tell yourself, I'm aiming to stop the car. I'm aiming to literally stop and park my car. And if you do that, you'll just about take enough speed off to negotiate Mulsanne corner.
And then you've got the drag up to Indianapolis, which is much narrower than the Mulsanne Straight.
That's my favourite bit, because you're just scything your way through the forest, and it's a straight, but it's punctuated by a couple of kinks which give it a sense of speed. There used to be humped kinks, which is where we saw in years gone by the Mercedes take flight and have their scary flips up and over the trees, because a bit of air was just getting underneath them. And I remember my first Le Mans, actually, Jean-Marc Gounon, who was a very experienced driver and one of my teammates in another category at the time, he said to me, if you are following another car through one of those kinks, make sure that you bleed out from directly behind them, even just half a car's width, to get a bit of air over the front splitter and a bit of front downforce, because if the car goes light, which they tend not to do now because they flatten them out, but back then, if the car goes light, that's the sort of thing that could trigger an incident like that.
Yeah, there have been over the years quite a few airborne incidents. As you were talking about, the Mercedes, the Sauber.
Right, and that's really good timing, Chris, because on Twitter somebody is asking, why have the cars got holes cut into the bodywork? And they're big square holes, about the size of I guess a piece of A4 paper, directly in the top of the wheel arch, above the wheels on the front and rear. There's a good shot of it. You can see there, look above the wheels, there's big holes. Now, this was part of a raft of new aerodynamic regulations that was designed specifically to stop aerial incidents in the prototype classes. And what it does is it allows air to bleed out of the wheel arch if it's given a reason to get up.
Yeah.
Let's say the
rather than getting
lights.
trapped underneath there, exactly.
Yeah.
It creates a low pressure area, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And also the fin is there to make it more stable. That's another thing to stop the accidents that we were getting.
Yeah, because if a car spins, let's say, or something triggers a car to spin sideways as it's moving forwards, and then it hits, say, the lip of a curb, and it just, in its sideways sort of drift, as it were, if it hits the bit of a curve, just anything to get a bit of air underneath it, the aim of the fin actually is to stop that scenario, allowing the car to lift off.
I remember one of the first races that I commentated at Monza, the 1,000 kilometers. There were some horrific accidents, a couple of really with cars flipping and yeah, tremendous. Is the speed these sports cars are going at.
Well, they're getting ever faster, and we're getting a lovely illustration of that as we ride on board with, that was with Earl Bamber, I think, as he went into the Porsche curves.
Yeah, and for the first time in a couple of hours, we had a change of leadership after Nick Tandy had finished his 3-hour stint, handed over the car to Earl Bamber. Because of that longer stop, because of the driver change and the tyre change, that has enabled Andre Lotterer to move back into the lead in car number 7. It's a 22nd lead change by my unofficial reckoning, and so Andre Lotterer will lead this race now, and he made a pit stop last on lap 187, so 2 or 3 more laps before he will be onto pit lane. So still a long way to go. 11 hours and 36 minutes remaining in this race. We're going to take a very quick timeout. Welcome back to Eurosport. That was a nice quick break. Andre Lotterer still leads in car number 7 for Audi. El Bamba in second place in the Porsche car number 19. Marco Bononomi, second to the Audi's car number 9 in third place. No other real changes in the other classes. Nicolas Lapierre for KCMG leads in P2. In GT, it's Tommy Milner in the number 64 Corvette, who leads by about 8.4 seconds over Richie Stanaway. And so Kiwi's running second in the two pro classes, in prototypes and in GTE. And in GTE AM, it's Matthias Lauda in car number 98, the Aston Martin that leads in that class. But a whole bunch of Twitter questions here. Sorry we haven't been able to get two more of them. Too much to talk about, quite frankly. Stephen Dixon asked how many Aussies in the race this year. Thanks for that, Stephen. I just had a quick check around. From American, there's 23 nationalities involved in this race, but just a couple of Aussies, those being Mark Webber and Ryan, well, it should have been Ryan Briscoe, so it's only just one because Ryan Briscoe was slated to drive the other Chevrolet Corvette, but that car was crashed in practice. There's a whole bunch more questions which we'll try and get to here as we go along. What about it, Sam? You got any there lined up?
I'm actually keeping an eye on the timing screens. We've got a nice race in our hands at the front of the field between Lotterer and Bamba in first and second positions overall. There's just 10.6 seconds separating those two. Now, Andre Lotterer in the leading Audi is lapping, well, according to his last lap, 3 minute 20.7. El Bamba 2 seconds slower, so he's not catching. But I would be the first to say that as a driver, I know I always feel quite frustrated when so much is read into the lap times of the drivers through their stint, and yet you know how easy it is for every single lap time of every single lap for the whole duration of the race to be completely dictated by the luck of the draw with traffic.
As you were saying earlier, you know, you come across a GT car, it's much better to hang back for just the second, as we see here now. He's having to go right round the outside on the Porsche curves.
Yeah, that's Andre Lotterer, the race leader. And, of course, he's been at the wheel of this car for a good long stint now. But El Bamba, he's just climbed aboard that number 19 car, only done 2 flying laps. So he's still bedding himself in. Now here, Andre Lotterer onto pit lane lap number 200. And that is right on schedule. Once again, 13 laps, the pit stop sequence, or the between pit stops with the tank of fuel for car number 7.
So do we feel that 13 laps is less than we were expecting? Because
no,
we've already seen them do 14, if not 15, haven't we?
No, a couple of 14s, but not really. I think Conor Rate run a couple of 14 laps. Run several 14 laps since, but mainly 13.
Sorry, you're talking Audi, aren't you? I meant to be talking about Porsche. Is it Porsche that's gone a bit further so far?
No, they've been doing 13s.
That with the safety car period?
They've been doing, yeah. They've not done any more than 13.
Because in the lead up to the race, they were expecting that Porsche would do one more lap than Audi, and it hasn't actually happened.
Okay, so that gives El Bamba the lead by virtue of the fact that Andre Lotterer has just pitted, and Marco Bononomi may even inherit second place, I think, at the same time in the sister number 9 Audi. Doesn't look like the
seems to be taking quite a long time.
That's plan B, isn't it?
Definitely. Something went wrong there.
Looked like a late decision to change the tyres there, or something.
Jeremy, I think you're bang on. I think they're all, because all the mechanics, everyone's in radio contact.
Very un-Yost-like pit stop.
He's already done 1, 2, 3, 4 stints there. Had Andre Lotterer on that set of tyres. So I guess I'm guessing there's a bit of a debate going on to whether they want to try 5 stints on that one set of Michelin tyres.
That's
finally
an awful
deciding
long way
against it, and that stopped there at 1 minute 31 seconds. That's 10 or 11 seconds there of vacillating. I think that's what's cost them, because generally their fuel only stops for around about 56, 58 seconds. Add 20 onto that for the tyre change. So at the most it's going to be 1 minute 20. That was 1 minute with 31. So 10 seconds lost there. And it sounds ridiculous in a 24-hour race that it should come down to that, because historically, you know, 10 seconds here or there doesn't make any difference at all, but it certainly does as competitive as the field is now, and as reliable as the cars are, and as flat out as these cars are driven.
So that was a complete changeover on that one then. Driver, tyres, the whole lot.
Yeah, you're talking, Jeremy, about the length of pit stops there. In terms of getting one driver out and another one fully plumbed in and installed, belts done up, drinks tube plugged in, drinks bottle replaced, radio plugged in. The window, when you add together the refueling and the length of tyre stop, gives you roughly 45, 50 seconds. I remember when I was with Aston Martin, I think we had the driver change element alone down to under 20 seconds. And I think Stefan